Dear students, now we'll go through fifth unit of our syllabus, which is power electronics application. If we discuss range of power electronics application, the list is very big. Means you can see every aspect of industrial or socio-economic life. Means right from your household lighting, fan regulator, to a cruise control, to a control of a plane, and press of a forging, control of a locomotive, uh, generation or power delivery for mobile tower, UPS installed at a huge data center. Everything is encompassed in these applications. So let's speak about few and detail them. So we'll be starting with, let's first discuss the syllabus of this unit. Lectures for this unit, we'll cover this in 3 lectures. First one, this one, we'll cover power electronics application range and depth of power electronics application, a general discussion, followed by online and offline UPS with batteries or with other storage sources. Because UPS is one of major application for power electronics, comes under the power supplies and backups. Next lecture we'll discuss about electronic ballast. Though it looks small or looks like application which is not that complex, but has huge distribution. Means ballast is almost everywhere along with the fluorescent lamp, and fluorescent lamp is everywhere again, right from your home to industry, street lights, etc. So we'll discuss discharge tubes, fluorescent lamps, their advantages, and a part of induction heating will also be discussed in the same lecture. The third lecture will discuss DC drives, because drives are next bigger application of where power electronics exactly lies. Power electronics lies exactly on the boundary of electrical and electronics engineering, because in almost all applications we had seen that there are power circuits or HV circuits, more popularly high voltage circuits, and there are control circuits or LV circuits. LV circuits are majority part of electronic circuits, which involves generating a gate pulse, driving a relay, isolating, sensing, and providing some gain for amplifier or error amplifiers. PWM generators all come under the controls. Whereas thyristors, their controls rectification, inversion, power line conditioning all come under the power circuits. And power electronics encompasses both of these. So it is on boundary of electrical and electronics. And we are more concerned about the conversion and control of electrical power for various applications. Means if I just want to put some dots, like I do have AC power, I want to convert it to DC. That is rectification if my load is DC. Okay. This rectification may be controlled or uncontrolled one. So this is AC to DC conversion. Let us say this is AC, this is DC. Even we discussed about chopping actions, where we got variable DC from fixed DC, buck boost converter, flyback converters, or even SMPS is part of DC to AC conversion. Then convert this DC back to AC using an inverter. complete AC here. Then this AC can be controlled or converted or cyclo-converted back to AC. And power electronic cycle completes. Means you do have uncontrolled or controlled rectification, chopping or buck boost conversion, or flyback or forward conversion also for that matter. Then inverters, all types of inverters, bridge, push-pull, series inverters, and this incorporates AC voltage controllers as well as cycle. Means all these categories, all these conversions involve one or other application. All heating and lighting control AC power controllers are either AC voltage controllers or cycloconverters or regulators, means AC applications. Electrical welding, electrochemical processes involves AC and DC applications. SMPS, UPS are DC, means AC to DC and DC to AC, again a linked DC link processes. Active power line filtering is part of distribution, improving the power factor, compensating reactive power, etc. is part of conditioning the power line. And the next one is drives, which is almost everywhere. Means wherever there is a movement, there is a drive. It may be a robot, it may be a conveyor belt, it may be a locomotive or electrical car for that matter. All these involve applications. After listing these few applications, we need to concentrate on few so that we can discuss them in detail. Let's first this. Okay. Then the range of devices and applications, it's like on y-axis we do have capacities in VAs or in watts. X-axis their operating frequency. Because communication based applications are high frequency but low power applications, whereas distribution, electrical car, locomotives, metros are higher capacity and lower moderate frequency applications. Means if I take a case of HVDC, it is low frequency but high power applications, so involves more thyristors in this. Washing machine, etc. applications, ACs are again low frequency applications, low power applications. They involve tracks, small MOS, power BJTs. Refrigerator and television are quite moderate frequency applications. They again use MOSFETs and BJTs or power BJTs, etc. Whereas VCRs, audio amplifiers, switching power supplies, communication receivers and their power supplies are high frequency applications but low power. Electrical car, electrical transmission systems in car, and all such applications are again moderate power and high power applications. Robot control at higher frequency and power can be moderate to huge. Drives, part of these applications, cars, robots, etc. UPS and SMPS are power line applications or power conditioning applications, we can say. And out of these applications, we are going to discuss UPS in detail now. But first, we shall try and understand that why UPS is required. When we do have mains power present, and we can have two mains, means if one mains fails, we can switch to another. Then why to involve a UPS and take that in the scheme? There are a few reasons. That AC power is not clean, and there are chances that there can be blackout or brownout at any time. Blackout means complete absence, power failure. And brownout deals with the conditions which are undesirable, like single phase AC voltage falls below 160 or rise above 270, or some frequency deviation like 49.5, etc., which is rare case, but it may happen. So as utility power or mains power is not clean, there are chances of blackouts and brownout, as well as there are sags, surges, high inrush currents, small fluctuations, and outages. These look small on time scale, but they are more dangerous because they may damage your device permanently. So this is also important. And power not reliable. Don't know any machine working on road can damage your power cable which is laid underline. So it's not in your control alone. That is a major concern because power line or mains comes from long distance transmission, and there might be any accident on a power line at any given time. There is fair chance of it. So reliability cannot be assured all the time. So we have to find out some alternatives. Then diesel generators are the alternative, but even they are not that reliable. They do not provide a clean power. These are good for lighting loads or some, we can say, mechanical type of the applications where pure sine wave is not that desirable. But UPS is highly recommended where you do have critical loads, need continuous backup, short outages not allowed. In such cases, we go for UPS. Because generators and surge suppressors are not sufficient one. We have to have a UPS. And it is the alternative which is preferred for clean, reliable, and uninterrupted power supply, as it's mentioned in the name itself. Uninterrupted literally means there is no interruption of a millisecond also. Because we studied that a millisecond's outage can wipe out data in your RAM. So uninterrupted means literally uninterrupted. So what it does? It is first purpose is the backup and standby for mains power. But remember, it's backup and standby only. It cannot provide power for hours and days together. And the second purpose, which is more important, is conditioning of incoming power to protect your devices and critical loads, which cannot survive the shocks or major fluctuations. So if I do have a UPS, then what are different topologies, how they are used, and all that is also to be known. So if I list, and first one is a single conversion, then double conversion, and multi-mode. If we see single conversion, which is quite simple, standby UPS, whenever mains fail, it will supply power to the load. Whenever mains available but beyond range, it will supply power to the load or regulate the mains, get it into the range and supply to the load. Quite good, efficient, cost effective, but cannot guarantee the protection. Because while conditioning the mains, it may pass some fluctuations or some variations in mains to the load. So we go for a double conversion in such case, where inverter is always on and power is converted twice. So it is called as a double conversion. Means AC is converted to DC and DC is converted back to AC. So it's a 1 and 2. So it is called as a double conversion. And it isolates load from the utility power. Load is on this side and utility power. And there is one conversion and there is another conversion. So there is no direct flow of power from source to. In these cases, some static bypasses are also available in the case when either of the block, either the storage block of UPS or the DC to AC converter block fails, because load must be fed uninterruptedly. And the third one is multi-mode, where a UPS can switch from single mode conversion to double mode conversion at its own, dependent on the operating conditions. So multi-mode function as line interactive under normal conditions, means it will provide backup, it will regulate the mains. But when it finds that situation is beyond control, means like a brownout situation or main failure, or we can say not a clean power is available, in that case it moves to double conversion mode and use a DC link for supplying to the load. Means AC will be converted to DC using controlled or uncontrolled rectifier. That DC will be converted back to AC, or it will take a power from storage and supply it to the load after inverting it. This is how most of the UPS works. Beyond this, there is a EPS, which is emergency power supply, which is literally used for the emergencies. No pure sine wave. These are basically quasi square wave inverters. Typically bridge inverters used for powering the lighting loads or fans, or some applications where only mains is required. Sinusoidal waveform is not that important. In that case, this EPS is used. It's not UPS, it's an emergency power supply. So there can be changeover time. In case of UPS, changeover time is less than a millisecond, because if there is a power outage for milliseconds time, your data in the system may lose. So UPS won't allow changeover time from mains to battery, which is always less than a millisecond. So let's see what happened in line interactive UPS. In the internal design of a line interactive UPS or a black box schematic and power flow diagram, we can say this is AC source, this is load. The simplest is connect this AC source through power interface, means power conditioner to the load. So that what will happen if there is a higher or lower voltage than the range, it will get into the range by some boosting or some bucking arrangement, means in short regulating and providing it to load. Second one is get this AC, keep battery charging through controlled or uncontrolled rectifier, and provide this battery power through inverter. This is DC to AC conversion. Inverter to the load. This is nothing but a stored energy power flow. Means whenever battery is charged, this will be discharged through inverter, converting it to AC and supplying it to the load. And third operation this UPS is doing, whenever mains is present, it keeps battery charging through the controlled rectifier. Means the major blocks are controlled or uncontrolled rectifier, inverter, and a power conditioner circuit. Efficiency good, conversion single, protection moderate, means it cannot provide high degree of protection because this power interface may pass some of the fluctuations, and it's quite a cost effective solution. Means whenever there are some disturbances observed, it will switch to inverter. So protection is moderate, it's not low, but cannot claim to be highest. So cost effective and good solution. Beyond this, we need to go to double conversion. Double conversion means convert AC to DC and DC back to AC. So how it works? You can see the control rectifier or rectifier arrangement, inverter arrangement, loads, and sources. Then the normal power flow can be AC mains converted to DC, through this rectifier. This DC is converted through this inverter back to AC and to the load. This is normal power. At the same time, battery charging application is continuously running. Means this controlled converter is feeding to the battery and battery is getting charged to the full level. When mains fail or this control converter fails, this stored energy is released and through this inverter it will be converted back to AC and fed to the output. This is what? Stored energy power. But if suppose this inverter itself fails, then though you do have a battery, though you do have a AC source, your load will not get anything because the link is broken. So in order to establish the link, a static bypass switch using anti-parallel SCRs or track is generally deployed in this double conversion UPS for the reason that whenever either of these block fails and this link cannot be established, at least a power shall be fed to the load. So this is called as the static bypass arrangement. This comes in picture when either of these block fails or if you find that some arrangements are made like that also, when AC source is fulfilling all the conditions which are desired by the load, it is passed through the static bypass. You have some extra sensing arrangement for that matter. This is battery efficiency UPS, but inverter is always on load, so you must have higher power. In this case, protection is best, but as there is double conversion, losses will be twice, so efficiency gets reduced and cost will increase. So the trade-off between these two is usually a multi-mode UPS, means which can act as line interactive as well, which can act as a double conversion UPS. And the UPS decides whether it shall go in double conversion now or line interactive will do. So we can see few blocks which are there in line interactive as well which are there in double conversion and additional arrangement of a maintenance bypass. Means if inverter fails as well as static bypass fail, you need to supply power. So you can use maintenance bypass in this emergency. Or when you want to put this system under maintenance literally, then maintenance bypass is used. So how it works? See, AC mains is present, normal power flow, green line, this static bypass goes to load. Fine. Double conversion, normal power flow, AC mains, control conversion, DC, DC link, inverter, power fed to the load. Third operation, energy is stored in a battery because this control converter was charging the battery, AC to DC conversion, this DC is stored. This battery has a discharge path connected to DC link, connected to load. This is discharge or stored energy power flow, this red one. Means battery to inverter to load. This is charging action or recharge power flow. And this is the maintenance bypass, pass AC mains to the load. This is how multi-mode UPS, which is single conversion or double conversion, is used. So it's a good combination of efficiency as well as protection. So these types of the UPS are used in the applications like data centers and all such. Naturally, with some redundancy also, means you do have another UPS also for that. Then the next question naturally comes to mind that okay, I know now different UPS and their types and their workings and power flows. But how do I calculate the power required for my application and which UPS should is selected, how VA ratings or power ratings of the entire loads be calculated, how I can recommend a correct size UPS in the correct form. So let's discuss the factors. First is topology. Means you have to first decide whether you are going for a single conversion, double conversion, or a multi-mode UPS, because it directly affects the cost. And this decision is nothing but trade-off between energy efficiency or anti-protection. So you have to balance whether you want efficiency, whether you want protection, or you want both. And then how to balance them is the important decision here. Then if your load is very heavy, if your load is 50 kV and 100 kV, then there is no choice to go for a three-phase UPS. But for the loads like 10 kV to 20 kV, you do have a choice of single phase and three phase. Below 10 kV, we usually go for single phase because that is how to determine these UPS ratings. First, make a list of all equipment that you want to put on UPS, because it's not necessary that all equipments and lightings and fans and ACs you will put on UPS. It may happen that you will only put computers and some lights on UPS, and rest of the things will be off if mains is not present. Then you have to, whatever equipments you list, you have to mark the VA rating of it. Then after getting VA rating, add all these. This will determine your need of power. So then multiplied by a factor of safety of 20%. For two reasons: to have some room for growth, like if there are some power plugs and anybody connects something, naturally it will be protected along with other standard loads. There has to be some room for the growth as well. If it is designed very cut to cut neck, then during transients or changeovers, due to heavy inrush currents or so, or due to surge, two things: if it's overload, then your UPS will trip. If there are surges, then it will damage something. It's mostly your loads. So in order to protect your loads and protect your UPS from overloading, we do have a factor of 1.2, means 120% or 125% in practice. And this will determine your UPS rating. Then take a decision of topology and single or three phase. Then take a look at whether you want rack mount UPS or a freestand or a trolley type of UPS, so that you can carry it. Anyway, for large UPS, batteries are separately stored, because for large UPS like 20 kV, and if you do have batteries of 100 Ah, 120 Ah, 150 Ah, whatever rating of the battery, then this will be a huge battery rack, cannot be incorporated inside a UPS cabinet. So we do have a freestand in that case. This is how we select UPS. Now the next application is a ballast, electronic ballast, which we will discuss in the next lecture. This first lecture was devoted for power line disturbances, conditioning, and backup power using UPS. And we discussed EPS in brief.